This is Reid Rosenthal on the Right Side Radio, folks, broadcasting out of KGAB AM 650 on your dial, Cheyenne, and the Town Square Network serving the Intermountain West, Easy 101, Colorado Springs, serving southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, and Monster 780 AM Denver, serving just about everywhere. So, hello, Montana to New Mexico and Utah to Nebraska. We're joined today by Bill Glynn. You know, this guy, Mr. Glynn, is absolutely a big voice. And he's a big voice about where we're at, why we're there, what we can do to get out of it, and, shall we say, how we can try and cushion ourselves and our neighbors from the train wreck which has already occurred in terms of the political, the moral, the social, and the economic part of the United States. And I'm going to say that he has two books out, Left on Red. You guys should kind of look that up. Kind of a cool book. I love the title. The United States of Bankruptcy, 20 Great Ways to Save the American Way of Life. And he is starting up a brand new gig. I'm going to let him tell you about it because it sounds exciting. It's takebacktheusa.com. So welcome to the show, Bill.
Yeah, thank you very much. Glad to be here. I used to live in Boulder, actually, so I'm right out your way.
Yeah, well, yeah, poor Boulder. They've been a bit soggy the past few weeks.
That's right.
On the other hand, perhaps that's because they lean blue. Who knows? Look, why don't you tell us where you think the United States is right now?
Well, in my personal opinion, and I think from a viewpoint inside the government, outside the government, and some very, let's call it heady circles. Don't know how I got there, but, you know, I have a very good topographic view of the United States and geopolitical affairs. Number one, we're already bankrupt. So let's start there. And we're not just bankrupt economically, we're bankrupt socially, morally, politically, and economically. Now, let me start here and, peel back the onion a little bit. Everyone has been told and conditioned in the United States to believe that we live in a democracy. People say, this is a democracy. Well, it's a republic like Rome, except that we're precipitating quicker to decline than Rome did. And it's really a representative democracy where, of course, we elect our officials. They go to Washington. But if I can spend $1 billion, that's what electoral cycles now raise, $1 billion, spend that largely on media to give the stupid, ignorant, uneducated voting class in America their opinion. So when they go to the voting booth or, let's say, the store, they buy the box of Tide, or in this case, the consumer brand that they've been given their opinion about. Now, that's horrid, and that's part of our societal mess. And we can't get elected leaders. All that's happening is if I promise you more from the fiscal coffers, then you'll elect me. And if I brand myself well enough and I'm a rock star, well, guess what? You'll elect me too. That's pitiful. It's horrifying, but that's the condition of politics and our society.
Why don't you tell us, when you say I think that kind of covers the bankrupt politically. I'm sure everybody knows what you're talking about on the bankrupt morally. Let's talk a little bit about economics. What are they saying in these circles that you run in, both within and without the government, as to the, shall we say, financial wherewithal, the financial strength or the lack thereof of the country as a whole?
Well, I mean, when you have the budget office come out and say we're on an unsustainable path again, you'd think someone would be listening. Inside, outside, upside, down, sideways, underneath, wherever you want to go. Everybody looks at simply 17 trillion as kind of a desensitized number out there in the world, or in America, let's say. That's not really true. It's not really 17 trillion. It's far greater than that. I mean, you have all these off-balance sheet things. So in other words, I have a company. I'm losing $1.5 trillion every year. I'm going to double down and give you health aid, or in other words, give you free benefits because I'm losing so much money. And every time I lose that money, which is the deficit, I have to borrow money, which accumulates towards the debt. What they haven't put on there, right, the corporate balance sheet, is they haven't put on the unfunded liabilities. Those are the liabilities that are coming due in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, other, unearned and earned benefits programs, and that's $130 trillion. Now, here's the kicker. We own 50% of our own debt. That means Social Security, remember Rick Perry came out, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's so much bigger than Madoff, it's ridiculous. Yeah, they've been pilfering the money since 1984. I mean, people pay in, they put IOUs in, they take the money out. So you really have to look at America saying we've bet on our own debt, right? We've got all this debt out to foreign nations. The only thing that has to happen could be economic war, or it could just be someone so upset at us, Vladimir Putin or anyone else, says, okay, I got $100 billion of your debt. I'm going to unload $50 billion of it. The minute someone does that, it's a run on the Bailey Bank and Trust. It's a wonderful life, and we'll be out there screaming, yelling, trying to pass a hat to get, dollar bills in here, but our currency by then will be worthless. How does that sound?
Listeners, if you go back in my archives about 2.5 years, you'll see several shows on the unfunded liabilities, which are estimated to be between 80 and 210 trillion. 130 is as good a number as any. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. And you'll also find some other shows as to the fact that our annual deficit is not 1.3 trillion, because your unfunded liabilities, which are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States, even though they're off balance sheet, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, pensions, they go up at the cost of living index every year, right? Let's call it 3%. That means if you have a $100 trillion unfunded liability, that's increased, never mind expenditures in that annual time period, just the inflationary cost has increased it by $3 trillion, which means we have a $5 trillion a year deficit. That's a scary, scary number. And I think Bill is right on, and I think he's right on with the fact that we are, in fact, bankrupt. The train has had the wreck. We just haven't fallen all the way into the river off the trestle. We haven't felt the jarring crash. So, Bill, what do you think is going to happen? And what do these other compatriots think is going to happen when we do hit the water after falling off the trestle?
Well, the problem there is they believe that they can rebuild our society into utopia, right? And everyone is going to be on an equal footing, equal chance, redistribution of wealth. And the problem is that you're now so globally interconnected that is going to cause collapse. Like Timothy Geithner, for instance, he was heckled, our Treasury Secretary in China, for even mentioning the full faith of the U.S. government backing its currency and its debt. That's horrifying in of itself. But when it hits, it all unravels. Right?
Well, actually, I'm going to interject. The fact that Tim Geithner was there saying that on our behalf is horrifying. How's that?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's Oliver Twist.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to walk up with, because please, sir, can I have more? The whole thing comes down. Now, they believe, and the fact is that since we're all, believing that we live in a republic, I mean, frankly, it's oligarchical. Right, even the United States. If you can raise all that money, buy electoral power, buy congressional influence, even now influence the outcome of judicial elections with money, that's an oligarchy, ruled by the few, the rich, and the powerful. So, around the world, the few, the rich, and the powerful believe, right, be it Soros or any other people out there, that if they collapse the currency, like they did with the British sterling, or the U.S., right, all of a sudden it creates this flattening, and the world has to come together, right? The world's got to then come together to solve this issue so that oligarchical group really has a manipulative power over our society. Now, is it going to be that bad? It's going to be pretty darn close. And guess what? It ain't going to all go that way. It's not going to be like, I'll go peacefully into that night. No, that's war. There'll be war. There's no doubt that if there's economic collapse, there will be war. So, we're in big trouble. I mean, big, big, big trouble. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is not a science project. And when I go through, I literally talk to liberal audiences on purpose. About 80% of them are liberal. I tell you what, especially the youth, when I'm done educating those people and solving the problem of ignorance, they are appalled, at best. I mean, they cannot believe it. Nobody has been able to drown out the Democratic and liberal airwaves. No one's been able to enter the schools because they changed them all. Sesame Street has changed. They've changed everything. And this was done methodically by hugely intelligent, very powerful and wealthy people. This was not a bunch of idiots in a room. They really actually already pulled it off.
So where do you think, by the way, I have to agree with you. I mean, I think this is a very long-term plan, hatched over decades, beginning with education and permeating out in all sorts of directions with dark and sinister tentacles everywhere. But the bottom line is, when we kind of hit the wall here, I mean, we've already hit the wall. When we feel the impact of the collision that we've already had, what's it going to mean to the average person in the Rocky Mountains, let's say? I mean, how are they going to see their life change? What can they expect if they are currently comfortable, we'll say middle class, 2 cars, et cetera, et cetera? What types of things might they anticipate?
A complete upheaval of their way of life. I mean, put it this way. If someone doesn't show up at our next Treasury auction so we can sell more debt to just finance the interest on our debt, that doesn't have to, you don't have to shoot a nuclear weapon or a chemical weapon at us. You could destroy us economically. 3 years ago I said the same thing, and the CIA came out. That's our Achilles heel, the debt. Duh. So what happens to the Rocky Mountain region, or what happens to, I don't know if it's Denver or, Laramie or wherever it could be. Everybody's way of life will be immediately impacted. Immediately. Because you can't send out a Social Security check, can you? All the poor, what happens? They ain't getting any money. You know why? Because there isn't any there to send them. And you can't buy food and everything with IOUs. You would probably have to declare a national emergency, the scale of a war. Because you'd have to go out and you'd have to commandeer, literally, food resources, power resources. You'd have to take the companies that are in the United States of America and literally force them to, pseudo-nationalize themselves. Because your whole society will unravel almost overnight. Right? Literally, your currency isn't worth anything. You ran out of money, so you can't pay anybody. You can't support the infrastructure you've got. People, will have problems working. If the government just goes away, believe me, that's a huge hole in our country. Well, they will beg, borrow, and steal, and it won't be overnight. The interest will go up. Things will start to unravel. It'll cost us more money to borrow. We'll rack up more debt. We'll try to get our way out of it, work with our global creditors. But when it all starts, right, it is very, very, very quick. It's a slippery slope and hard to get off. Now, everyone's hoping, right, rolling the dice, that actually a technology, fracking, is going to pull us out. That literally will do what the Russians did and find this whole wealth of oil and turn the tables, on the world. But I tell you what, no one's got the political courage to stand up there and say, hey, listen, I don't care about anything. I'm not pandering to you. I'm not doing any of this crap that everyone else does. I'm not shining my shoes or wearing a tie for you either. I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And if we don't do it, our way of life will be rushed. And that's what will happen to the Rocky Mountain region. Kids can't go to public schools. They're closed. No one can get paid. Right? Supermarkets, whoops. Where'd all that go? No one's got any money, so you can't fuel that, so the companies eventually collapse. I'm telling you, it is an economic mess at the highest level. But you know what has to happen? Here it is. The government has to step in and essentially take over.
Sure. This is just Cloud and Piven's theory. This is overwhelming the state with social entitlement. And I happen to agree with you 100% on where things are headed. I happen to agree with you 100% on why they're headed there. And I believe it to be totally intentional and part of a much larger, much longer-term plan, which has been ongoing for a long time, while we have had our little ostrich heads in the sand and been asleep at the switch. So, part of this is our blame. What can folks do to kind of protect themselves against this? What can they do to help their neighbors? And particularly, what can they do if they happen to live, about half my listeners live in, I would call, semi-urban areas in Denver, Colorado Springs, etc., and the other half live out in rural areas in 6 western states. So obviously, you're going to be much more self-sufficient, much more able to kind of surround yourself with a community defensive identity in a rural area than in an urban area. So just for a moment, talk about what the folks in more urban areas, Bill, in your estimation, should do to start preparing, protecting, and recognizing, unfortunately, where we're kind of headed or where we are but don't know it yet.
Well, really, they can't do anything. I mean, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen quickly to disrupt everyone's way of life. You can't really prepare for it. You can't invest in gold, or you can't invest in the stock market, or you can't really stock your money away, because when the deck goes down or people lose confidence in our full faith and the currency we've been printing day and night comes home to roost, you ain't got anything, right? I say that sometimes to make a point. You ain't got nothing, But what are you going to have?
But it's really true. It's really true. Listeners, go back in the archives. I did several shows. Just type in when you do your search, reserve currency, and it'll come up. When the dollar goes through its death writhings here, the first thing that will happen is that we will no longer be the reserve currency of the world, which means we can no longer print dollars because nobody really cares if we have dollars or not. Not only is that being, should we say, foisted on us by internal politics and globalists who believe in the big social utopia after, the meltdown, but also it's being hastened by the BRIC countries, China, etc., who are just chomping at the bit to replace the United States dollar with another currency, primarily their own, as a reserve currency so that they can enjoy the status, the quality of life, and the ability to print money and control economic destinies as we have for the past 60 or 80 years.
Well, they can't do it either. The problem with them is that they may be able to internally utilize their population to buy their goods and services, but not really. China has its own issues, believe me. I mean, they're a massive overgrown economy, and so that's going to come back. The only thing, really, if there was an impeding disaster like a molecular warfare or, some kind of asteroid hitting the Earth, well, guess what? That may unify us as a species or the human race, whatever you want to call it, because, hey, you're all dead, right? We're all dead if we don't do something. You blow up our currency, you blow up our debt, you topple our way of life, or even alter it substantially, you've got a global issue. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be one of these, oh, boy, that's great. What, are you kidding me? I mean, you're going to have a land grab by all these freaks. I mean, you already have, the United States of Persia, or whatever you want to call it over there, happening now. Do you think Russia's not smart? He's going in to see Iran. Are you kidding me? Look at Iranians got their foothold in Egypt, Iraq, Syria, Libya. Look at that. Yeah, under our watch, under this president's watch. I mean, I just, at the end of the day.
Listen, with this president's assistance, forget under his watch.
I agree. Right. It's, I'm not burying my head in the sand either. I mean, you mentioned Take Back the USA. So, my partners and I, we sat around a table and we said, okay, we're going to do something, and we're not a bunch of kids either. We're not, some people in some room, hoping to draw crayons and stick figures. So I went to my friends in the country and Christian music industry where I play at, the top of the food chain and said, you know what? Russell Simmons can rock the vote, right? He can educate. He can enlist, enroll, get people out, get them out to vote, get them enlisted to vote, educate them on the issues. Why can't we? Why can't conservatives do something? Because I'll tell you what, liberalism is cool. You don't see some kid, a conservative standing up in the lunchroom saying, I'm a conservative like Michael J. Fox during the Reagan era. No. they'll get punched right in the face, right? The schools, everything from Sesame Street up through the schools, media, books, TV, magazines, you name it. I mean, how many Ten Commandments have to come down? How many schools have to change? How many flags have to be taken down? How many times does the ACLU have to step in to defend the liberal rights and progressive agenda? I mean, you just have to sit back and say, what can I do about it? Well, you too can throw a rock at the sun, because that's what people feel like. You got the Tea Party dividing the vote on the Republican side, so you can't win elections. Love the Tea Party, but unless those two get together, we're always going to lose, and the Democrats will laugh, as they are, right in our face. So we took these musicians. Our first rally is in Panama City with 15,000 people. We've got Toby Keith, and you can, Daryl Worley, who wrote that 9/11 song, wonderful face of our Take Back the USA, Charlie Daniels, right, all on stage. And we're there to tell the crowd something that otherwise they may not listen to. You see, I already know we have the conservatives, right? We just have to get the Christians, for instance, out to vote. I already know we got the Fox News listeners, and your listeners too. Got them. Just got to get them out to vote. You know what we don't have? Youth, center, center-left. All ignorant regarding the issues that will change their way of life. So you have to have
I've been doing a series on Obamacare and some matters concerning the Mideast over the last 6 weeks. I have to tell you that what people don't understand, don't know, and in some cases really don't want to know about this life-impacting, health-shattering, pocketbook-busting behemoth that is tromping its way toward them like a friggin' zombie is just plain scary. They'd rather talk football. And
have a TV dinner, be taken care of, go collect their unearned benefits check, etc. As soon as, right? Go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The government.
And I really like your concept. I really like your concept of kind of, should we say, making the communications modern, avant-garde, and within the channels that those folks that need to be reached will listen to. I think it's a great idea.
They have to, because the thing is, so you put Mitt Romney up there, right? Great businessman, great ideas, stiff, right? Kind of, shiny shoes, tight tie, not really making any political snafus, et cetera, He's going to lose. You're playing against a rock star, man.
Why don't we just say anal, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, true, but he's going to lose, right? Who are you going to put up there next to lose?
Absolutely.
I mean, now, Hillary's going to be turned into a rock star because it's the progressive machine that's making him so. So unless you can have a platform to put your elected officials on, the conservatives, get them to associate their message more with the people that don't understand, just to reach them. Because right now, they're not listening to a word you say. Turn on the TV and you see some nicely combed hair guy, statesman standing up there. Hey, what did I say in the beginning? It's about a box of Tide. It ain't about your message and, your great ideas anymore. It's about branding and rock starness. That's horrid, but that's what it is. So you got to learn to play by the game. You want to go, take a, community organizer, right, and make them president? Great. My partner brought 5 million people into his last 2 gigs. Hey, he could be king, right? Forget about it, So, I don't know. I'm just not laying down. I'm not laying down for it. I wrote books. I'm on the radio. I'm doing my thing, paying with it with my money. And, we're not out begging for money either. All of our concerts are going to be free. People want to sign up. Guess what? I'll give you, roadside service and 51 other benefits. Thank you very much. Don't want your money, but if you want to give some, I'm not taking your money for free. I don't need a donation or a handout. I'm an entrepreneur. Faith, family, free enterprise. That's what I'm all about.
The 3 of the pillars, by the way, under attack from the current administration and the minions and leagues of progressives which blindly follow them. I have an interesting experience once in a while. I go on the Huffington Post, which is in and of itself is a liberal rag, and I look at some of the comments on these articles. And I got to tell you, I kind of shake my head because how seemingly, they can construct a sentence, They know something about syntax. They seem to have a decent vocabulary. But some of the concepts and ideas and excuses that they make for this pathetic president that we have and his pathetic minions and their actions and where we're going and where we are is absolutely astounding. And I'm wondering if is there a way for each of the folks that are listening today. I mean, everybody must know a progressive, right? So maybe we all need to go out and hug a progressive today. What would you tell them, Bill? Because obviously not every liberal is going to attend your concerts. Yeah, not every liberal is going to listen, and some liberals are going to hear your name and just turn off the TV. You know how that goes.
Yep.
What can we do out here, let's say in the Rockies and wherever else people are listening on the archives? What can we do on a one-on-one basis? What would you recommend we do to change minds and influence people?
Number one, don't do more petitions. I mean, you could do a write-in on your next ballot and vote for a box of Tide. That'd be pretty funny, but, hey, brand I trust and clean stuff up. But the thing is that people, generally feel impotent, right, for lack of a better word, that they can do anything. Well, the thing is that they can, and it doesn't start with one person at a time. It's not good enough. It's not strong enough. It's not big enough. Our country is too big now to be able to go out and change a liberal or progressive's mind. Because guess what? The minute you're in their ear, they're going to go back to the television. They're going to go back to the web. They're going to go back to their magazines, everything else, and they're going to be, right, indoctrinated. It starts with our kids, right? So they've already done this. I mean, we have to think of a 60-year strategy, right? And in the next 2 years, how are we going to reach the masses? Because the individuals out there, even if you organized every listener you've got and every citizen out there, it still isn't good enough. I mean, if you could do Colorado and change, I think, 6 electoral votes or however many there are, fantastic. You know what? I mean, hey, listen, red, white, blue, gun carrying, NASCAR watching, baseball, popcorn, hot dogs. Boy, those people, they're already in our tent. If they go out and talk to the liberals over in Boulder doing a hacky stack in a bag of weed, those guys are going to be like, what? Are you kidding me? We got to help the underserved. We got to take your money and give it to them. Isn't that great? Pay me. Hey, I want to hang out. You pay me. You come out. I mean, you're not going to change that mentality. It's the people that can be reached that are in critical states that you've got to just absolutely factually hit them. You've got to be able to have a communication with someone, not about impassion, not about bashing the president, not about their agenda, not about that. You got to walk up to people like I do at these, big venues, and I say, listen, here's some facts, just so you know. You may already know it, but you probably don't even know who the vice president is, right? Especially the youth, and they don't know this stuff.
Oh, I know. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and you hit them with facts. I tell you what, you just hit them with facts and say, you know what? And get a fact sheet. We're putting one up, and I think like 20-something days it'll be up on our, Take Back the USA site. Facts. You want to make a difference? Tell the people the facts. When people know the metrics, the magnitude order of what is happening and the consequences that they have not yet felt, they open their eyes. And that's the first step. I mean, if you open their eyes, that's one thing. I mean, they may not vote with a far-right person, right? But at least their eyes are open, right? And I don't do things on an individual basis that well, and I do things on a macro basis, I think, better than most. So that gives me an opportunity to reach, tens of millions. So for an individual like me, listen, I rant and rave. You get me in front of a liberal, I will try to convert them. I'll sign them right up. I will get there and say, hey, give me your credit card. Let me bless you. So come on, let's go. If you don't know what you're talking about, you have no idea what's going on, that gives me an opportunity not only to unload this off my chest so my poor wife doesn't have to hear it every day in the house, but it also, hey, I feel like I'm doing something. I mean, I got Herman Cain as my next door neighbor here. It's, I've got some, good people that are around our whole effort, but very hard. I'm telling you, my community here, I mean, you know, you got your snobbists, rich people, and they're walking around. They don't want to hear anything. You know, they think it's cool to be liberal. Wait until taxes go up to 70%. Let me see how cool you are now.
You know, I agree with all that too. I do think I find the most frustrating thing in trying to talk to a progressive or to a liberal. Yeah, and there's a big difference between a progressive and a liberal. A progressive, although most of them don't even know what the term means, is really, you know, somewhere between a socialist and a communist. A liberal is somebody who, you know, why don't we just say, likes the feel-good status of using other people's money to bestow benefits upon people they don't know. I mean, that's the only way I can really describe it. And I'm sure my lefty friends who are listening to this show right now are groaning in anguish and pain and throwing their, I was going to say cowboy boots, but actually beach slippers at the radio. So that's cool. Keep listening. I think, Bill, that what I find most frustrating in trying to talk to somebody on the left is that no matter what fact you feed them, they will come up with some tripe, this propaganda. I mean, you can say 2 + 2 is 4, and they will come back with you and say, oh, no, it's really 5. And they'll just kind of repeat and parrot what they read on Common Cause that day, you know, what they've read on the White House blog that day. Don't you, I mean, does it make you gnash your teeth?
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? They had, you know, a group talk to a bunch of college students, right, liberal, progressive, indoctrinated, whatever. And they asked them some questions, right? And then they went through and they had all these, daily messages from the Democratic, you know, machine, which, by the way, is massive and cohesive, right? Mm-hmm. They have the benefit of organization, right, where we have fragmented everything all over the place. These kids, they parroted the talking points.
Sure.
It was freakish though to have the power and to have that cohesiveness such that you can organize your forces, right, tune them up with the right message. You've already indoctrinated, so now you just have to keep supporting it and actually pull it off.
Well, not only that, but they can do it. Folks, you want to have an interesting exercise tonight, tomorrow night, whenever. And, you know, I'm sure many of you listen to Fox, maybe some of you listen to CNN, whatever. When at the top of the news hour, when they're talking about the major stories on the evening news or evening commentary, listen for 5 minutes to MSNBC, to Fox, to CNN, to ABC, to NBC, CBS. And you will find that the folks who are there presenting the side for the left in the panel discussions, etc., they will say exactly the same thing. And not only that, as Bill was talking about, they are so cohesive that they can switch around within the course of a day to promulgate one message, which is being spit out of a fax machine. Hey, Bill, where does this stuff originate? Does it originate at Democratic National Headquarters? Does it originate in Soros's wine cellar? I mean, where does it come from?
You know, really, I would love to know. I mean, I know for a fact that there's involvement from the Democratic Party for absolute certain. And let's say that's 60% of the messaging. Then you got all these tools, right? Those tools are the people and organizations you ain't never going to see, right? And they're crafting these messages and they're sending them out. And a lot of it does come from the Democratic National Committee. And that's great. I mean, good for them. I don't like it. I think it's sickening and vile. I think their messages are terrible. But you know what? Hey, hats off. You guys did.
Oh yeah, no, they're very good. You know, lots of people jump up and down. Oh, you know, he's incompetent. He's inexperienced. I mean, he doesn't know what he's doing. Look, the other side, folks, understand this. They are brilliant, deadly, tenacious, dedicated adversaries to your way of life. They are not to be trifled with. They are not to be underestimated. These guys are really good, really good. And if you don't believe me, you take 5 minutes. It'll be a really interesting experience for you. Any night of this week, and flip through those channels at about 3 or 4 minutes each, and every single person, a different face, will have the exact same message from the other side. Exactly the same. So, Bill, it is kind of it's kind of heart-rending, actually, because we are. The funny thing is, it's kind of like ranchers. You know what I'm saying? The greatest strength of a rancher is his individualistic self-reliance. That's also his weakest point, because he's not likely, except in the case of a huge emergency, to go to his neighbors. He's not likely to spend lots of time in social settings or gatherings. And, I think on a macrocosmic scale, you have the same thing going with conservatives. Conservatives really just want to be free and be left alone. You can do your thing as long as it doesn't impact me. I can do my thing so long as it doesn't impact you. And we can all be happy doing our thing. And so to become part of this big mass, if you will, and to cohesively state talking points like the left does, because they are social animals, what makes us strong makes us weak. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Right. I mean, here, we have a really, really powerful group of people, part of the more fiscally conservative. And I don't care if you're socially liberal per se. I could,
Sure.
I want to not have you murder a child, an unborn child, but that's another story. But, they've got the Conservative Party, right, let's call it that, which is the Republicans, the Tea Parties, half the Libertarians. They have fragmented that block of voting. So we lost already. Start there. Number two, there isn't a cohesive medium of expression other than radio that is still individually personality-driven and fragmented, right? That's not hitting their localized audiences and some national, but it's not doing enough, right? It's not hitting enough. Yes, Fox News hits a lot of people. Love it when they mention them all over the liberal stations. But the liberal media influence, right, since Kennedy has changed the course of power in America. You can do that, and you can organize that, and you can out-socialize, out-technologicalize, out-market, out-advertise, out-do everything. You're going to win in perpetuity. That's the problem. And the Democrats, by the way, just so we all know, everything that's being done right now about the debt ceiling, everything that's being done across the board, you know what it's about? Hey, dummy, the midterm election, it never ended. The elections for them, they never end. Obama and his swagger, he's the president of the United States of the Democratic Party. I swear to this guy, I've never, ever seen a more divisive leader of anything. I don't care if it's a donut shop or if it's, a major enterprise or the government.
Not only divisive, but also, in my mind, seditious. And, that famous speech of his, there are no red states, there are no blue states, there's only United. Make me puke. Puke.
I always say this. Number one, before I, speak to crowds, I'm either going to don a bib so I don't get sick on myself. I certainly don't want to ruin my clothes, or I throw up in my mouth, because I just, and it's almost like I'm bulimic because I have to do it every day. And I look at this stuff and it really is. I was saying before we got on, that my son, and I brought him up on stage the other day in front of a whole crowd of people. I bring him up there and I said, everyone, here's my son. Meet him. Bankrupt. Okay, his way of life and what you're experiencing right now are going to be radically different. And guess what? Our panderers, right, talk about, our children, grandchildren. What? Talking about me. I'm 45 years old, man. I'm bankrupt myself. It's horrid, But again, getting back to the President of the United States, the Democratic Party, I don't know one time I've ever heard this man stand up there and bring parties together in a way that wasn't divisive or pushing an agenda off on the Republican parties. You see, what he's got to do and his job to change the course of American history is to spend these 8 years in office. And I tell you what, you look inside those buildings and you look inside our government and our society, you cannot even imagine the massive, I mean, utterly confusingly massive structure that they've put in place now. They have changed out, I mean, everything from judges to teachers to colleges, changed all the rules, books, everything. You just can't. To unwind what's been done will take a decade or more, if we even can. And then you got Clinton coming in next. Hey, you know what? Who do you think's going to beat Hillary Clinton? She's going to be a rock star. Who we got? You know, I mean, Ted Cruz, Rubio, I mean, Chris, who do we have? You know, Rand Paul. I mean, that's our agenda. That's our thing. You know what's going to come up? Oh, abortion, and you're after women. Oh, you hate Latinos. Really? Trayvon Martin, who was he killed by, a Latino? What'd you do, Democrats? You went after his civil rights. What's up with that? You made it a white-black issue, you freaks. You missed it. It's a Latino issue, and you're attacking Latino. Missed that opportunity, but that's coming up soon. I mean, there's a million things. What are you going to do? I mean, you're fighting against a brand, right? That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build a brand, and you're fighting against it. Oh, you know, hey, listen, how many Republican leaders have been in positions of power and president over the last 40 years that didn't overturn Roe v. Wade? I mean, they're not answering the question. Hey, you know what? I'm pro-life. I don't want children murdered, but tell you what, do I have the influence to overturn Roe v. Wade? No. Do the states have to make decisions on them? Yes. Hey, guess what? Answered that one. What we have to realize in the conservative party is we got to get out and vote for a puppy dog. I mean, if it's like a little, you know, whatever it is, vote for it. Because if we don't change the people, right, we're never going to have an opportunity to change the course. So that's right. Unity. You got to unify all these disparate people and just make them understand, hey, you know what? You may not agree with everything. It might not be ideal. Hey, hopefully the guy's telling the truth. But guess what? You got to vote for him anyway. I don't care what you think.
It's better than the alternative, and anything that slows the process of decay is a victory until we can finally get somebody who can reverse it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's that simple. I had so many conversations with Ron Paul supporters. Personally, I think Ron Paul had some great domestic policies, and I think his international, I don't know what he was thinking. I'm not sure he was thinking. He believed fervently in what he said, which is great. But anyway, the bottom line is when Paul unfortunately got snubbed by the Republicans down the convention, you know, Romney probably lost 1 million to 2 million votes right there. They didn't go out and vote for Obama. They just didn't go to the polls. I think this last election, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, there were 3 million, plus or minus, less Republican votes cast than in 2008. And guess what? Romney lost by 2 million votes.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't have won the states.
I mean, that should tell people something.
Yeah, he wouldn't have won the states that he needed, right? So
no, he wouldn't have won the states that he needed, but in terms of the popular vote, I mean, listen, now we can start going down, we can segue into some changes that need to occur within the Constitution, which can be done from the ground up, although most people don't know that. You know, Mark Levin's new book, I think, is terrific. The whole point of this, folks, is, look, you probably aren't going to find perfection. You probably aren't going to find in a room of 10 conservatives more than half of whom agree with every single idea that you have socially, economically, military, whatever. But the bottom line is, you know, Patrick Henry said it really good 230 years ago. Either we hang together or we shall all hang separately. And let me tell you, the rope is on the yardarm, the knot is tied, and our neck is in it. Do you disagree, Bill?
Absolutely not. You know what? The fact is, I'm already swinging, so I'm almost out of breath. Right? I'm on the gallows, man.
Is that creak I hear on the other side here of the radio?
No, I think that was my child crying and whining in the background that he's already bankrupt.
Yeah, and listen, that's a really good point that you bring up too, and I've kind of hammered it home in my shows. Folks can listen to on the archives. I mean, if you guys listen to this show, if you can't get motivated for yourself because you don't want to miss a Denver Broncos game or if you're out there in Utah, Utah Stars game, whatever. Why don't you turn around and you look at your kid or look at your grandkid the next time they visit you, and you think about how pissed off you would be if you were them and you were walking into $1 million debt. Now, all you got to do is the math. The experts, Bill and I have been talking about this, the unfunded liabilities, etc. You can go back in my archives, listen to the shows and the interviews I did. All the math is there. This is real-life stuff. We're not making it up. The only thing that isn't known is just how bad it is. Is it 80 trillion or is it 210 trillion? For the purposes of this show, we're using 130. I think for the purposes of the show I did 2 years ago, those shows I used 100 trillion because it was a nice multiplier. You could multiply easily. The bottom line is, if you take $100 trillion and you divide it by 350 million people, that's a number. It's just math. That's what each of us owes. You look at your grandkid, and even if you are too lazy, you are too self-indulgent, you are, shall we say, too hell-bent on whatever tomorrow's fun stuff is going to bring, think about your grandkid right there contending with the debt that you're leaving them, because you are. And that is one of the reasons. Go ahead.
No, I think people just don't feel like their vote counts. I don't think people feel like they can do anything. I think they feel like, it's so far out of their control. Me personally, I have just one agenda, one agenda in government, topographically, with Take Back the USA, with books, with anything else. My one agenda is, over a 5-year period of time, take income tax, corporate tax, dividends, and capital gains to zero, right? And as you're doing that over a 5-year period of time, institute a national sales tax, not a VAT tax, not nothing else, a national sales tax. Don't tax gas, don't tax pharmaceuticals, to help the people out and also to help out the people that have worked all their lives and others that need medicine. Okay, start there. Now, excuse me, Bill, not to be confused with a value-added tax, which taxes folks at every single level of production and distribution. This is one sales tax at the end user. Right.
Okay.
70% of our economy is consumption. Right. And if I give you Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, either the earned benefits, veterans and Social Security, or the unearned benefits, right? Welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. So if I give you dollars to spend, guess what you're going to do? You're going to spend them, and I'm collecting my tax off of the sale of products, goods, and services. And guess what? The rich, they'll pay a lot more. You know why? Because they buy a lot more stuff, dummy. And by the way, now you have zero tax. Now, here it is. Here, wait for it, right? The thing is that we would be the most tax-advantaged nation on earth. First of all, our tax revenue alone from the national sales tax would double. So start, stop, whatever you think, blah, 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 it would double. Now, number two, the key is, how many trillions and trillions of dollars do you think would be looking for a home in the only nation on earth with no taxes? How much would go into our stock market because we don't have any capital gains or dividend tax? Oh, how many repatriated dollars would come back here? Right? There's trillions all overseas. They're not going to bring it back here to the United States. Bringing it back here to the United States ever. Right? They're just not going to do it. You know why? Because they're not stupid. So if you took down all those barriers, how many companies would want to set up shop in the most tax-advantaged nation on earth? Now, when that happens, and remember, you have a national sales tax, what's going to happen? A massive, utterly massive amount of money flows into the fiscal coffers, at that time, it's not about deficit reduction. It's about throwing $1 trillion or more a year at the debt. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm stupid or maybe I'm just not logical enough, but everything I am, everything I do, every time I talk to anybody, I am always putting out I told you, Herman Cain lives right next door to me. He's saying 999. Great. I say 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 0. Everything's 0. It's the national sales tax. And I'm telling you, our whole entire way of life will change. However, nobody has the political courage to do it. And if you want a constitutional amendment, I'll tell you what you do. The one thing that will really change it all, term limits. You go up there for 3 or 4 years and that's all you got, believe me, you can't pander for money for your community so you can bribe people to get reelected.
Absolutely.
Which is fraud in and of itself, I think. Well, if you
couple that with campaign contribution limitations of $5,000 per person per entity to every campaign, and I mean no getting around it, no subsidiaries, no related parties. It's $5,000, that's it. And then you compound that with a limitation of the amount of money that can be spent at each level of campaign. Let's say $250 million at the presidential level, $5 million at the senatorial level, $1 million at the congressional level. And suddenly you're taking all the fun and all the steam and all the crony capitalism and all the corruption out of the deal.
Absolutely. You see, it's not that hard. People have good ideas, and they're very simple. You don't have the political courage to change. Now, here's the thing. Again, wait for it. Because when we do hit that wall, and when this whole thing unravels and people are like, oh my gosh, this isn't utopia, I can't even get a can of beans, then they will turn to the conservative people. And they will be looking at the government taking control, and there'll be a party of people that will fight constitutionally. And it'll be drag down, knockout, blah, blah, blah. And I tell you what, the 21st century, this century, which all this happened under our watch, is going to be more than interesting, right? Because have you ever seen, you know what people should watch? Shift Happens. SHIFT happens. Seriously. Someone showed that to me, and I'm a pretty educated guy, right, I think. Went there and watched that, which was done 4 years ago. Oh, you want to get the version that's playing like the Last of the Mohicans song behind it, because it gives you a little bit more, a little bit more fervor behind it. I tell you what, when you're done looking at that, you will see where America stands on a global basis. We are decaying rapidly.
Absolutely. Folks, go back about 6 weeks, I interviewed Xavier Dalriada of Full Spectrum Dominance, and he, of course, hit the same things that Bill is hitting, but from an historical perspective, going back 5,000 years with the rise and fall of the East and the West, the current descendancy of the West because of this decay, and the rise of the East. It's a continual kind of pendulum, a tipping point that takes literally hundreds and thousands of years, but we are at the apex of that switch right now. Bill, we got a few minutes left. Do you think, this is a tough question, do you think when the, shall we say, the aftershock of the impact we've already had kind of hits everybody in their bellies, in their wallets, in their lifestyles? I mean, do you think that we are going to be able to hold together as a society despite a gnashing of teeth, or do you think that we could have widespread violence?
Widespread violence, and not just here in the United States. I expect that we lose control of our military advantage, and we're the police people of the world. And when that happens, you have a lot of people, not the intellectual property of the weapons themselves. It's the intellectual property of the people that know how to create those weapons, right, which is what we are field for. I serve on a very unique council with 4-star generals, admirals, people of influence around the world. We're the guys that do the military-to-military back-channeling between China, Russia, the U.S., and do some very, very interesting things. And it's really grand for me. Again, I don't know how I got there, but our job is to look at global conflict in the future and figure out ways to avoid it, be it potable water, natural resource scarcity, cyber warfare, etc. And the thing that I see is that when the United States of America can't afford to do that, or is withdrawn from that, role, you will see the spring up massively in proliferation of weaponry. And we're at the dawn of the molecular era. I don't think people realize this is not any longer biological. This is molecular. We're at the doorstep of the hand of God. And you don't think these freaks over there living in caves and all this stuff, aren't smart? People are. We underestimate our adversaries, just like that. They're smart. They're really smart, right? I mean, you might have a lot of hacks throwing stones at the sun, shooting us with bullets. You're not worried about bullets. You're worried about the guys behind the guys that have the brilliance. If the United States of America fiscally is disrupted, right, even minorly, right, you've got a global problem on your hands. You think North Korea, Iran, the United States of Persia is a problem? Ooh, wait till you see what happens next.
People have it right now, right in front of them, right? I mean, yes, the disruption is not known to many, but the United States has kind of stepped back out of the Mideast, and look at what's going on over there, right? Tunisia, Pakistan, Syria, Iran, Egypt, you name it. And this is just a tiny step backwards by us. Imagine if we were down and out, folks. Imagine if we were down and out. And imagine if that conflict, that hatred, that vitriol, that push and pull of violence that you see in the Mideast right now everywhere, imagine if that was a contagion that spread throughout the planet. I mean, that's really what Bill's talking about, but hopefully I didn't incorrectly paraphrase you. Bill?
You did not. You did not. That is perfect. I was just thinking, man, you were right on. That was very accurate. It is horrifying, isn't it? It is really, really.
Yeah. And I mean, and we have the foreshadow right here in front of us, and people still don't get it. Listen, it's been I can't believe it. The hour's up. It's been terrific. Why don't let's end the show. Tell people, A, your books, B, where they can go for your new website, and where you're kind of putting together, shall we say, a big voice to reach a lot of ears, because I think that's a terrific concept.
Right, thank you. So that I don't, hawk any books or anything, I think that TakeBackTheUSA.com, what we did was we put together member benefits that we thought were superior to what's out there, and my partner's over 50, so he's like throwing stones at the AARP. I mean, sure, we have medical discounts, blah, blah, blah. You can get them anywhere, right? I mean, you have to aggregate them and then make them really affordable so that people get real value, right? So, again, we're not pandering for money. So we took the next step and said, great, okay, people want to onboard with us and become members, fantastic. However, we're going to put our money out there. We're going to do a whole bunch of concerts around the country. We're going to rock the boat. So for the next couple of years, starting mid next year, we're going to rock the boat. I mean, our office in Nashville is great. It's in a big castle recording studio where Al Capone used to hide out. I mean, we got artists coming in and out of there. We have a whole agenda, and there will be an announcement first part of next year. You'll see probably the most powerful conservative group in our country line up. We've got a lot of conservative groups and a lot of big, powerful media people behind us. So it's strong. I mean, hey, listen, my partner says, I wept when Ohio went Obama's way. And I said, really? Too bad, because I just picked up my bat. I'm ready to go. Bring it on. If you want a touchdown for us, give me the ball. How's that?
Yep, there you go. There you go. And tell folks where they can go to hand off.
TakeBackTheUSA.com.
TakeBackTheUSA.com, folks. Bill, it has been a pleasure, a real pleasure.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I really enjoyed talking to you, for sure.
Yeah, great to talk with a like mind, and listen, I really hope you and I are flat wrong, but unfortunately, I don't think we are. So,
Roger that. I agree. I agree, and thank you so much for having me on.
You betcha, Bill, and we'll do it again soon, too. In the meantime, go get him. You got the ball, man. There's the goal line.
Thank you. Okay.
This is Reid Lance Rosenthal on the right side. That was a kind of fascinating hour. It was kind of a summation of a lot of things you've heard on a lot of shows here on the archives and elsewhere over the last 6 or 8 weeks, and in fact going back 2 years. So, I really hope you folks are listening to this. I really hope you turn around and look at your kids, you look at your grandkids, and you think about your responsibility to them. I mean, would you turn around right now to your wife and give her a bill from a third party for $1 million and say, "Here, honey, you pay it"? I don't think so. Is that something you want to do with your kids or your grandkids? I don't think so. This is Reid Rosenthal on the right side. You have a great Saturday. Stay healthy, stay wise, and stay wealthy.